Welcome, motherfuckers. Yes, indeed. Well, I got to rock out with you real quick. And if you're ever worried, you're confused about something, you don't have anything to believe in, you got to believe in something, right? So why not believe in me? Oh, yes. Believe in me. All right? If you're ever stuck somewhere, if you ever need somewhere to go and you don't know who to believe to let you know where to go, believe in me. I'll show you where to go. And I'll show you how to do it when you need to go. All right? All right. Please believe in me. Thank you for everybody joining, checking us out today. Make sure when you come in, please hit the like button. Here we go, baby. Yeah. Hey. Take the chain off your brain. Take the chain off your brain, man. All right. I had to rock in with you. And thank you all for joining JPTV. Believe it or don't. This platform is to bring awareness to all mankind. Okay, we grew to get settled with information without questioning, and now we are grown now, so we can ask those questions that we've been dying to ask. Okay, I believe that the brain, you can reprogram the mind into a better righteous thinking, and you can overcome certain things, okay, for the next generation or something like that. What is this? The motivation behind all this, and this is what I do it for, the motivation is the outstanding killing of the blacks. Now, that's my motivation to do that, because I'm not afraid to show the truth and let everyone know the truth, okay? I believe in showing it. Once you see it, then it'll register. Then you'll try to figure out what's going on, okay? The goal is to unite all races under righteousness, okay? Whether you're black, brown, Asian, white, yellow, we make it right under righteousness, okay? With that being said,
welcome to JP. Welcome to JP.
JP's. JP's.
JP's. JP's.
Welcome to JP's TV.
JP's TV, believe it or don't.
How y'all like that? You see, I be coming up with little commercials here and there, do what I got to do. Network, baby. You got to network, baby. Okay? I want to bring my panel in first, but I want to first let you know something, okay? Because they're trying to take our minds off of this. Keep your mind on this. BLM, okay? This is the co-founder, okay? Remember, don't take your mind off this. They want us to forget about this, okay? Remember, she stole all that money, and she bought luxury homes. And it was on the news for a minute, but they cut it off. They say, whoop, then the riots start happening. All this police stuff start happening. They're trying to take our minds off of that, okay? Don't forget that she is a snake. The BLM faces of Black Lives Matter. She's one of the 3 lesbians, fat black lesbians, that stealing the money from the community, from the people, and not putting it back into the community, okay? They doing that shit for other reasons, okay? Just to give you a little, we should come up with I'm sure you're all familiar with Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner, however you want to address it nowadays. Transgender switched over, his sex. I'm gonna bring my panel in after I play this video, and let me know what you think about this.
So there's legislation in various states to ban biological boys who are trans from playing girls' sports in school. What's your opinion on that?
Index. This is a question of fairness. That's why I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in school. It just isn't fair. And we have to protect girls' sports in our school.
But if someone transitions and now identifies as a girl, isn't it delegitimizing their identity to prevent
Have a good day.
Whoa. Heavy shit right there, right? And I know some of y'all may not agree or agree. We're going to figure it out, okay? We got a couple of whites, a couple of blacks on. Okay, so we're going to figure out what's going on, okay? Bruce Jenner, what do you think about that? Is she correct? Is she right? I'll bring you up first. What you think about Bruce Jenner, however you say it? Unmute yourself.
My bad.
He's now a transgender, but he is saying that it's not fair for transgenders. As a transgender, he's saying it's not fair for to participate in women's sports.
Yeah, so he's saying that a male that crosses over or identifies as a woman shouldn't play in women's sports. Is that what he's saying?
I think once you become a transgender or you switch over, I think they want to call themselves women.
A woman. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's what Caitlyn is saying, then I agree. I don't think that a man should cross over and become a woman or identify as a woman and play against biological women. They still have the men features as far as the muscle tone, strength, stuff of that nature. So it's still basically a man. It's a man body, man physical strength going up against a woman, and men are generally more physically stronger than women are. So no, I agree with Caitlyn in that. I thought she was saying the opposite.
Let me bring a white in. It's my home girl, Jen. So, what do you think about Bruce, Caitlyn, however you want? He sounded like Bruce to me in that video. He sounded like Bruce. He was deep with it. He sounded like Bruce in that video. But is he correct?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, with testosterone, muscle mass, and I know this just from the fitness world, muscle mass, strength, I mean, there's no comparison whatsoever. The men are going to blow women out of every sport. I mean, I think I saw something last year or really wasn't that long ago, a transgender in a track and field. This guy blew by. I mean, he just was like lengths and lengths and lengths ahead of women because they're stronger, they're faster, more muscle. It's just, there's no comparison. And even that's, as a woman, I'm saying that I don't think it's right at all. Let them identify whatever that means. And I don't know if that's more of an emotional like feeling, and it's different than physical features. They physically have more muscle, more testosterone. They're physically stronger. So it isn't apples to apples, and I don't think it's the same thing. And I agree 100% with Caitlyn Jenner that it's not fair for other women.
I don't know if you all are familiar with Sarah Fuller. She plays for Vanderbilt. she's one of the she was like one. She was the first woman to play with the men in full contact sport. Sarah Miller. What's happening, man? What's happening, man? Hey, you got the link. Hey, come on in, Jack. Sarah Fuller, she plays with the men. So how people feel about that?
So I just have a personal story. When I was probably 13, 14, when living in Ohio, I was like the water girl for my brother's football team. And as a joke, the coach had me run a play, put on some shoulder pads and a helmet and ran a play. And like growing up, I'm one of 6 kids. I have 4 brothers. I'm extremely athletic. And I considered playing sports because a lot of sports they didn't have for women that I was used to playing. I played backyard football. I've seen that in areas where I grew up, the women, they were punters, kickers, or whatever. But it's different. It's not, I mean, that's competitive. You're signing up, if it's football, you're willing to go out there and say you're going to get your ass kicked, whether, like they're not going to not tackle you the way that they would a male.
Man, and you know what? My thing was when there's a celebration after you score a touchdown or you make it something, how about slapping her on her ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, good play there. I mean,
yeah, but nowadays you get slapped with sexual harassment, probably. Who knows? But
she shouldn't be there. She shouldn't be there. Let's bring a black in. This is one of my blackest friends right here. The great, but he's the great though. I'm telling you, this guy's right here. I mean, he is, man, the great Kung Fu.
What's happening? How you doing?
The great Kung Fu. What's happening, man? What you think about Bruce Jenner saying that transgenders should not participate in women's sports?
They shouldn't.
Okay.
I mean,
so he is running for governor. Are you going to vote for him? Well, would you if he was in Cali?
I mean, that politics is one thing, but when you starting to delve into of the like sexes, that's something completely different. Like, honestly, if whoever runs for office, they might have some good ideas. You never know. But when you start like competing and doing stuff where the sexes are separated, that's kind of I don't agree with that. It's just guys should play men football. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Hey, my brother Craig, what's happening? In the building, man. Glad you could come through, man. Really appreciate it. You are on. Oh, okay. You are.
I made it.
My man, my brother. Look, my brother's in the house, man. All right, we ready to do this. So, let me get all my people in here. Oh, let me see. We got another white. Okay, another white. And let me see. We got he black. All right. Hey man, we in the building, baby. Okay, I got you. I'm about to send that right now to you. So look, would any one of you all be interested in investing or creating a transsexual league for them to play? It could be a lot of money in there, huh? What you think? Would you start a transgender sports league? Someone has some feedback. I don't know. I'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think.
Huh?
I don't think that's possible.
Why you don't think that's possible? You don't.
You already got a men and women league. That's a good point.
This is America. They can start anything. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of money in there, y'all.
JP, you could start it. You could
Right.
start it, but you're gonna have the men's league bringing in money. You're gonna have the women's league bringing in this much money. And you're gonna have them bringing in no money.
Right.
It won't
Y'all
be
don't
enough to
think-
survive.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
already
think
have
that'll-
they already have a transgender league for the most part. It's called a WNBA. I'm just joking. Uh,
That's funny.
you know,
Oh.
I tell people all the time, if you ever seen the movie Juwanna Man,
Yeah.
Juwanna Man was the precursor to all this nonsense that's going on right now. Me personally,
No.
let me say this. I'm a gambler and I love gambling, and I would love to see a ringer in the women's league. Throw a man who just throwing a wig, and I can just bet on that person, and I can make all kind of money. I don't see any future. But let me say this right here: with like somebody said, would you vote for? I lived in California. If I was in California, I would just look at the policies. I think I get past how somebody looks. If it meets my bottom line and make sure that I can prosper and make money and live a decent life, you can have two heads for all I care. It's all about the policies at the end of the day that moves a country. Now we can we be somewhat short-sighted by looking at somebody's personality and their personal choice? Yes, but you know, when I was in the military, if you can shoot like I can shoot, I don't care what your political or religious belief. We got to get out of here alive together. So we'll deal with that when we get outside.
Yeah. Hey,
And I just want to say something.
Yeah,
A precursor. I think that precursor is. You ever seen the Robin Williams movie when he was dressed up as a female and Ring Raines was dressed up as a female?
Yes.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. No, not Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yep.
It was
Birdcage.
Wu or something like that. I forgot.
Birdcage.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, I think somebody mowing the lawn or something over there, but let's go ahead and roll this clip. Y'all hear that? Like somebody mowing the lawn or something? It must be on my end. Do y'all hear double back on my end, or am I clear?
You sound clear to me.
You're good.
Okay, cool. So let's get into it. The first question of the day. Okay, we got a bunch of mixed ones in here today. Okay, I think it's fair. All right, fair game today. We're gonna get into this, and it's one of my homegirls. She posed a question today, and I want to see if she agrees with this. What do y'all think, Jen? What do you think about this right here? Put y'all in the back. I don't know who the hell sound like that. Put y'all in the back. Okay, Jen, what you think about this?
What?
Huh? Y'all can do everything like the men now. Y'all can pee like us. Y'all can play with us. We know with football. What do you think about them trying to? I get from what I get from this. It's like I get two things, and we talked about this the other day. Hey, I gotta hurry up and pee. Y'all don't feel like bending over, so y'all could just. But then it's like you're posing as a man to do it. What do you think about this? Go, girl. If you gotta go, girl, you gotta go.
Well, I have mixed emotions about this.
Mhm.
Again, like I grew up in the country. I'm not afraid to pee outside, go camping in the woods, whatever. You got to go, duck down an alley, whatever. Been there, done that, do that, depending on where I'm at, driving, access to a restroom.
Mhm.
I could see where that could come in handy depending on your crowd and where you are. If you're out in a big, like setting or place where you can't duck down, where they don't have restrooms or whatever, you're trying to be really discreet. So,
Yeah.
I don't look at that as her trying to be male or masculine or anything. For me, it looks like it's all about convenience. And
Hey, Craig, would you go to the store and get sis some of these?
You know, I grew up on a dairy farm, man. She just pop a squat and go. I won't worry about that.
right. I mean,
Did the Bible squad go? Huh?
She would be like, "Why'd you buy that for me?" She just
That's awesome. Okay, let me bring my whites up here. 'Cause I got a question for you guys. Okay, I got a question, and this is I know you all familiar with the George Floyd situation, and they had like a memorial for him, but they had specific instruction for the whites. What do you think about this? Go ahead, Austin. Go ahead and read it. He's smart. Go ahead and read it.
All right, give me a second. Let's see. Welcome to George Floyd Square, a sacred space for community, public grief, and protest. This is where George Floyd took his last breath under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer under the watch of 3 other officers. Enter with reverence, humility, and openness as an invited guest. Care for each other by wearing a mask and asking others to wear a mask. Honor the space as a place to connect and grieve as caring humans. Scroll down for me. Where's that there? I can't see it on my screen. There we go. For white people in particular, decenter yourself and come to listen, learn, mourn, and witness. Remember, you are here to support, not to be supported. Wow. Be mindful of whether your volume, pace, and movements are supporting or undermining your efforts to decenter yourself. Seek to contribute to the energy of the space rather than drain it. Bring your own processing to other white folks so that you will not harm. What's people of color? What's the BI stand for? Black. I don't know what the BI stands for. POC. Consider if you want or need to take photos and post them. Do not take photos of other people without their consent. If you witness white folks doing problematic things, speak up with compassion to take the burden off of black folks and our siblings of color. Whenever appropriate, seek to engage rather escalate so that it can be a learning moment rather than a disruption. Well,
so I'm caught up in the comments and stuff. So it's specific directions on how to carry yourself when coming to pay your respects to George Floyd. How do y'all feel about, I don't know what that noise is. How do y'all feel about specific instructions?
Well, first off, when I read that, I see an agenda being pushed in a couple ways. Number one, it's a mask push agenda, and then it's also a racist agenda because they're actually exploiting right there first and foremost. So I look at this one incident. They're using this incident of George Floyd to push more agendas and push more things down the throat of everyone. Just like they've been using racism from day one to push agendas that they want to get achieved.
Jen, as a woman, how do you feel about this? As a white woman, how do you feel about this?
As soon as I read that, it started with a divide. So the whole country media is always, all of us come together. Why do you have to differentiate between white and black? If I'm there to support you, I don't care what color your skin is. And so why do you care what color mine is?
Yeah.
And then it just went down the list, and you could say, so if I'm going to take photos, I have to get the consent of, X, Y, and Z, but it's okay for JP and other people that are there that are of color. Like they don't have to get permission. Like, so it's just, it's more of what already exists. And I feel like it was just a greater division.
Austin, how you feel about this?
Why don't you take a question from?
I got you. Austin, how you feel before I bring it black in?
Oh, I'd rather it would be a memorial to victims of police brutality or police violence than a specific person. But if it's a memorial, yeah, you should be polite and respectful. But yeah, some of the language was a little, troublesome, or the wording was a little off. That I wouldn't have phrased it that way if I was them. I would just say this is a memorial. Be respectful, and don't take pictures unless someone's consent. All right, it's, all these rules and everything. The more rules you add, the more it's just going to put people off. It's a memorial. Be respectful. Period. And I think if people don't like that, they're not going to go to it. They'll leave.
Let me bring
I'd rather also just have a memorial to the victims of police violence, or this man, or you could have all the people that have died on one memorial. But this is the George Floyd Memorial. Like, there's more people besides that, and I didn't really like his backstory. Wasn't that great in the first place? So
true. Kufu.
No. Hey.
So specific instructions for whites at the George for a unemployed crackhead, you should say. How do you feel about that? Do you think the whites needed that?
So that was whoever wrote that was probably a moron. But what I would say is all right. So Jim Crow. So whoever it is basically trying to reenact in a way Jim Crow on the white people. So that's the way I saw it when he was reading it. So but it's just suppose that is kind of ironic. So just how white people didn't feel uneasy about what was just read, even though it was specifically for white people. I mean, it's kind of like how we felt back then when those kind of laws were enacted also. So it's kind of like now you kind of understand where we're coming from a little bit when you have those laws pertaining to you versus we had those laws pertaining to us. So it was kind of, we didn't like it and you don't like it. So it's kind of pointless to have in the first place.
Go ahead, Austin. What you want to say? What you got a rebuttal to that? Or anyone have a rebuttal to that?
Oh man, I got more confused by Oso over here, man. You didn't like my comment. I don't know what I said, man. That was so bad. You have to explain to me, man, where I overstepped. But
So I'm gonna bring someone in, okay? This is like a head buster, but I'm not gonna bring him in yet. The guy who started all this, I'm gonna bring him in. What do you think about specific instructions for the whites at George Floyd Memorial?
I think it was kind of awkward. Everybody who's spoken thus far everyone has a point. But what I was thinking about was, why did the person feel the need to address white people in that manner? Is it because, well, as some of you said, is there an agenda? Or maybe that they were they had history in mind when they made that statement. And Khufu he also made a point about the Jim Crow. So I don't know where they was coming from, what point they was making, but it was kind of awkward. But I get the point that everybody was making. I really don't know. I would have to get that more in context. So, but for me personally, it was just awkward.
Yeah. Do y'all believe that it's an attack on whites?
No. Well, again, if you don't know the perspective that the writer was coming from, I don't even know who it was, so I don't even know their background. I don't know their history, so I can't really say, other than the fact that it was a very awkward post. So I don't think it was necessary, but I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. Before we get into it, I'm gonna bring the homie in because I know he's been dying to talk, and he's probably gonna bust your bubble with this.
Hey, can I get one more second, JP?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, great. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So to kind of summarize a little bit, what I was thinking when we were talking here was, it's kind of how they wrote it out. Once again, so I don't know how it was written in context, but it'd be kind of like if I was walking down a sidewalk and they said, "Hey, by the way, you white person, you have to walk in this manner, and you one foot in front of the other, and you have to walk on the right side, and you have to do this," and you're thinking, I would do that anyway, but why are you trying to point that out? I guess it's the question. Like, why are they saying it in the first place? And like I think we said that multiple times, but did it have to be said? I didn't feel attacked. I don't think there's any attack, but like the question is, why would I need directions, in a certain manner, in that context, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm just not sure the direction it was going, but it just seemed very out of context. But I didn't feel attacked. It just, you kind of sit there and wonder, like, why did they have to say that, or why did they write it?
Also, I thought maybe the language might be a little divisive too. Everyone saw the video. I mean, everyone, black, white, every race has seen that video in this country, and it's horrifying. By putting that wedge in there, you're separating things. We're supposed to come together about this one issue, and if we're telling certain races how to act in this, I know there's a back history like Khufu said with the Jim Crow, but I mean, should be a place of gathering to all races to work on this one issue instead of giving people certain races rules and everything.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
There you go.
I want to be honest about this. I mean, I think everybody's tiptoeing around because everybody wants to be nice to everybody on this live. Wrong is wrong and right is right. If a person goes to the who has a heritage of Japanese, and he goes to the World War II memorial in DC, there's not written rules to how he should act because his people killed Americans. No, and I think people need to be honest. Wrong is wrong, is right is right. If I see somebody and I walk up and I call you a girl or your mate a bitch or whatnot, that's wrong, regardless of the intent of what I need to know. The backstory is wrong. So for me to sit there and tell anybody how you should conduct yourself without knowing who you are, that's a slap in the face before you can get there. So I think people need to quit, sugarcoating their contents when it comes to say something is wrong. That's wrong. That's the pure definition of racism, because now you're telling a group of people how to act in a certain space. You don't do that. You just don't do that. If somebody acts an ass, then let's be human about it. Say, nah, Slim, you don't need to do that. Go on about your business. But even if you put up rules and nobody adhere to the rules, then what's the problem? It's just a set of rules. There's not codified in law, and there's no penalties behind those rules. There's a community understanding that this is how we act. But even with the community understanding of a certain group of people, nobody's going to be punished if they choose not to act within those laws or those rules. So that's all I'm trying to say. When I hear people tiptoeing and no, just say it's wrong. If I'm white and I see, hell, if you go to the Martin Luther King Memorial, you don't see a set of rules for MLK for white folks. You go and you pay your respects and you roll out. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works.
Yeah, true. And see, I ain't even want to bring him out right now. Okay. Now. Okay. You got a rebuttal? You got a rebuttal, John? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Marcus. I believe your name is Marcus. You're absolutely right. I don't think, well, me in particular, I'm not tiptoeing. I'm just trying to use a little bit of logic. I'm trying to look on both sides of the fence without understanding where the person is coming from, meaning that we don't even know who the author is. So we don't know their perspective. Maybe there is a reason. It could be wrong to us, but from their perspective, it might be correct. It might be right to them. based on the history of white people against black people in America. Maybe they felt the need. Maybe they felt the need to have to say something. So that's the perspective I'm coming from. So
Hey, hold on. Before we go there, we gotta go to a quick commercial to pay some bills.
That's a red rice, right? Front desk.
We gotta pay some bills real quick. We gotta pay the commercial. Okay, we gotta pay some quick bills.
Chinese food. That's a red rice, right? Front desk.
Sport and Health.
Sport and Health. 315G, right?
Here is the Sport and Health.
Yes. I'm here.
It's things down
Here, 304 G Street, right?
Yeah.
Southeast G Street.
Southeast.
Sport and Health.
Yes. Health. Yes.
That's great. I put it in front. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. 再见. 再见.
All right. All right. So we're gonna get into it right now. All right. We're gonna get into it. But first, before we get into it, and I'm gonna let him introduce his I'm gonna let him, say his little piece of whatever John has to say today. I also want to give the opportunity to, when I have whites and blacks on this panel, I want to have an opportunity for them to ask questions to each other that they don't get to ask questions to each other. And it's a better thing to get to know one another, okay? Because the whole thing is to unite under righteousness, okay? Like he said, right is right, wrong is wrong. We ain't gonna get together and create no bombs or nothing. That'll be wrong. So we use this in a positive way. So I appreciate the blacks and the whites coming through today. All right, so let's get into it. And this is a question that I want a black to answer. Let's roll it.
What's the question again?
Does it make me racist as a single white female if I'm walking down the street and I know that there's a black gentleman behind me? Does it make me racist if I cross the street?
Did you get that?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Guvu, does it make her racist if she cross the street if she see your ass? Huh? Oh, hold on. My bad. Huh?
I mean, it's not really for me to judge. I mean, she probably just scared because she's scared. You know what I mean? That's necessarily because I'm racist. I mean, I am black, but if she's scared just because she's scared of somebody's walking behind her, well, that's on her. I mean, it's not necessarily racist.
Okay, Don, what do you think about that? To the average eye of a black, and he happened to cross the street. Would a typical blacks call that racist?
I mean, do I have to be black behind her, or am I just another person?
Yeah, you got to be black.
And she, but it's like you're assuming the person's way of thinking because she looked back and see, oh, it's a black guy. Let me cross the street. You can't assume someone's way of thinking. You have to actually ask that person, or in some kind of conversation, like, how did you feel when that person was behind you?
You could just look too black. You could just look too you out there and you up to something.
But that's like you're sowing division already, but you've been asking that question because you can't assume someone's way of thinking without even talking to the person because you don't know that person, like you said, that person's past. You don't know what that person's been through or how she feels about black people or whatever. You don't know that. You're assuming and you're hypothesizing about some event that could probably, that it has happened, but is no gauge to see if that's racist or not. There's no true gauge to that.
Marcus, would that have happened if first of all, how do you feel about that? Will a typical black call that racist? John.
Oh, I thought you said Marcus. Oh,
I know.
I thought you said Marcus.
You did.
Oh,
no, I didn't.
Anyway, don't worry about it. But no, I don't think it's racist. It can be other things, but I don't think it's racist. It can be. I think what's going on here is that we're using the word racist wrong, which I'm going to illustrate what the proper context of the word racism should be applied, how it should be applied later on. But no, that's not racism. She could be prejudiced. You know, she could be discriminating, but racist, no.
Now let me ask y'all: if y'all seen a group of black guys or two blacks that you knew just probably ain't up to no good, would you cross the street as well?
Yeah, if you know they ain't no good, why not?
Well, that's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. Sometimes you could just see that, and the whites have white vision. They see that shit quick. They smell it quick.
Again,
they
but like,
say,
but like
"Oh, yep,
Kufu,
we gotta go."
like Kufu was saying, it's context. If it's just a regular black person just walking, could be in a suit and tie coming from work, and just the mere fact that it's a black person, and you walk across the street just because it's a black person, okay, then you've been discriminatory. But if you're talking about like you a person coming with his pants hanging down, his hair all crazy, looking mean, upset, and aggressive, I'm not gonna be mad at her if she goes on the other side of the street.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Okay, that's fair enough. And you know what? That's amazing. So it is time for John. It's time, John. It is time.
All right, let's get it.
What you have to do is you have to let everyone know. Sorry, let me get that out of there. You got to let everyone know what you are trying to prove tonight. And I'm gonna let you have the floor. And I'm gonna let you, ask them questions as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and go into it. John, what would you like to discuss with us?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I just want to start by saying that this is not hate. I'm not hating on anybody. This is not finger pointing or anything of that nature. So I don't know how y'all want to be addressed. White people, Caucasians, Europeans. I don't know how you identify yourself. So I want to be very sensitive to that. But the topic that me and JP, well, I told JP the other day that I was going to bring to you guys, to everybody that's listening, is that all white people are racist by definition. Not some, not a quarter. All white people, by definition, are racist. That's the conversation.
Okay, with that being said, how can you prove that all white people are racist?
First of all, we have to understand the difference between, or we have to understand what racism is. And as I mentioned it earlier, that we're using the word racism out of context. Okay? Racism and bigotry are two different things. All right? Bigotry being discrimination, what else? Prejudice. All of those are emotion. It has to do with your perception of someone's looks, creeds, appearance, so on and so forth. Racism is different than that. Racism is systemic. Okay, it's a systematic oppression or control over another group of people. One group of people control over another group of people. That's racism. If you don't believe me, let's take a look at it. Racism, a belief or doctrine that inherent differences among the various human racial groups determine cultural, and individual achievement, usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others, or that a particular racial group is inferior to others. Also, a policy, system of government that is associated with or originated in such doctrine and that favors members of the dominant racial or ethnic group, or has a neutral effect on their life experiences while discriminating against, let me go down, or harming members of other groups, ultimately serving to preserve the social status, economic advantage, and political power of the dominant group. That is racism. Racism is not emotion. Racism is based on power and control. Who has the power and the control in the United States? Let me.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead. No, I want you to finish. Go ahead.
Okay. Who has the power in the United States? Okay. So let's just go here. Who owns the educational system? Who controls it? Who controls the media? Who controls Hollywood, the banking system, hospitals, the judicial, legislative, executive branches of government, religion? Speaking of religion, the worst thing that happened to Black people, right here, this image. Okay, so when we're talking about control, Black people do not control nothing. Matter of fact, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, very well-respected person I like to look up and listen to, says that Black people in the United States own less than half of 1% of all the wealth in the United States. So that means that 99.5% of all the wealth in the United States is owned by white folks or other than Blacks. Okay, so who owns everything?
I think Kufu has a rebuttal to that.
Yeah.
What
So
would
I
you
got
like
three
to say? What would you like to say, Kufu? Which question are you going at that you're rebutting?
all of them. So the fact that you said all white people are racist. So I think I said this in a previous episode. All races are racist. In other words, there's certain nuances about each race that only that race knows about. So, for instance, there's white people know about things that like white people know about. They don't know certain things about like black people, like little certain nuances that we have in Black cultures. They might not know about certain things in the Asian culture. Africans might not know about. So, in other words, to look at it like this. When I say you're a pianist, right, or a violinist, those are people who are proficient in whatever they're playing, right? So if you're a pianist, you're proficient in playing piano. If you're a biologist, you're proficient in some kind of biology, or anything with an IST means you're proficient in something, right? So when you say racist, you're proficient in your race. I'm Black. I am a racist. I know things about Black people that white people just don't know. White people know things about white people that Black people just don't know. So when you use things in context, use the words in their context. Racism is an action versus, I don't know what you were explaining, but it's an action. It's in the process of doing something that's where you can say that, oh, that's racism, right? What you're saying overall, like who controls this, who controls that? Yeah, white people do control that, but that's a different word. That's a different context in which you're attributing racism to. So you're blurring the lines between the definitions that you're using, and you're not really giving the true context of the words that you're using, and you're confusing me about what you're saying and the definitions that you're giving me. So that's the only thing I just want to kind of get clear for me.
Yeah, because now you done confused me. I don't know where you just went with that.
Okay, so let me explain to you. Let me just the first thing when you say racist, right? When
Yes.
you when you add an IST to something, that means you're proficient in what you're doing. So when I say you're a pianist, you automatically know you're playing. You're proficient in playing the piano.
Okay, I got that. I
Right?
got that. I got that. So when
Okay.
you add when you add the
IST.
IST means you're actively doing something you're proficient in, right? That's what
Right.
you said.
Right. So
Okay.
in your
So
race,
okay, no. So white
mhm,
folks aren't proficient in the oppression of black people?
that's not what I'm saying. So you're blurring the lines between definitions
I'm
again.
not blurring the lines. I'm asking the question. I'm asking you a question.
They are
You said
active.
to me,
They are active, but that's not being a
yeah,
racist, though. That's racism.
well, if you are racist, that means you practice racism.
Incorrect. You see, you're blurring the lines between definitions again. That's why people are using these two words out of complete context. Racism is an act. So when you say oppression, right? That's racism. Because someone has to oppress you, like the definition you just read. Look up
Either
the word racist. Look up the word racist. I bet you really can't find the definition of the word racist in the dictionary.
control, oppression, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
is racism. That's the
Right.
definition of racism.
Right.
And what I'm asking you is, who has control black people's reality economically, socially, politically, religiously here in the United States? All I want is an answer.
So as white people, but
All I want is
but what you just said, you're saying that those people who are in control believe that their race is better than every other race. That's what you're saying. What does that got to do with anything?
what do you think? Yes,
Per what
that's
you
what
just said,
that's what I'm saying.
per what you just said, those people who are in power, right? Those
They,
people who are in power,
they, yes,
they are inherently racist. That's what you're saying. They believe that
yes,
their race is inherently
yes.
better than
That's
everybody else's race.
that.
You're
Yes,
in their minds to tell me that, right?
their actions show it.
How?
What you mean? How? They put up
How?
imagery, man. They put up imagery.
Who put up that imagery
Things
that
like
you?
this, right?
Who
Okay.
put up that one?
So therefore, not only do they put up imagery, if you want to go back to slavery, what were we calling our slave masters?
What, bastards?
Masters.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
You mean to tell me that during the 240 or 50 years that we were enslaved, that the Europeans wasn't projecting this imagery in our head that they were more superior than we were?
I'm not. See, you're like again.
I'm
You're doing
asking.
like this again.
Just
You're
hold on.
right. No, you're right. But you're saying,
Okay.
but that's then. Right now, you have people who are like, for instance, Jeff Bezos, right, the head of Amazon,
Well,
right? You're in
racism
his
is
head to tell
different
me
now.
this man is racist.
Racism is different now.
I understand that, but you're making you're basically making a guess about someone's mind that you have no knowledge of. You don't
I'm
know
not
what Jeff
making a
Bezos.
guess. I'm not making a guess on someone's mind. I'm not making a guess on someone's mind. I'm giving you the reality of what I'm giving you the reality of what is going on today from Europeans as a collective, not one person's mind. I'm talking about as a collective.
I think what you're trying to say is over history, over time, right, has installed white people as heads of power, right? But you have to understand that those white people who are installed as those heads of power might not have the same way of thinking that you have about them. You understand what I'm saying? Like they may got their way there, obviously, but that doesn't mean they have the same mindset of what you're saying to them. You're hypothesizing about their mindset. It's
I'm going
almost
by actions,
disingenuous to say that.
not the mindset, Kufu.
But
Their
that's what you're going.
actions.
That's what you're telling me, though. That's what racism. That's what racism is. It's the mindset.
The
It's the
racist,
mindset.
a racist is a person that practices racism.
I'm gonna jump in here and just go back to a little bit of the religion thing that was brought in, and something I grew up on, going to church and being taught was First of all, I've been taught this since day one. We're created equal underneath God. He created all of us. And honestly, we just went to church and learned that we were created by Adam and Eve, and they had kids, and from that point on, we are one race. So well, we just did a Sunday school lesson on that. And just like dogs, they can have two different dogs, and they can have a hairy dog and a non-hairy dog. This is the Punnett square. We branched off from two people, and we are all one race, literally from the beginning. If we all go back to that, we are all brothers and sisters in Christ. There is no racism that can be present at all whatsoever if we start from that point of view. Now, even when you bring up things like who owns most of the percentage of wealth, the problem with that is you can go back and then women can start saying, well, men own more than we do. And other people Asian can start saying, well, they own more than we do, and they own more than that. And you can start going racism, you can start going gender, you can start going, now we got transgenders, and they're going to want more because they're going to say, well, we're transgender and we want, so not to get too off topic but to be honest, you got to go back to the beginning, and we can't even start bringing that up to say racist or racism. Like, we can say culture, because I will tell you, I married a Filipino Italian. I was the whitest white guy on a dairy farm that grew up, and I deal with Amish people. That was the closest I got to like diversity growing up. I mean, that's pretty diverse in regards to how they grew up and lived. But I had to understand culture because my brother's girlfriend is Hispanic, and she actually, like, her family and how they work together is totally different. They get wild and crazy, and sometimes you're like, whoa, and they say stuff off the cuff, and you're like thinking, did they mean anything to that? And you're like, no, they didn't mean anything to it. That's just how they are, So I think sometimes we say racism, and I think we need to understand culture, because honestly, in the last 10 years I've been alive, I've been understanding more and more of that, understanding more and more how people might look at something of being like, wow, was that meant to harm me? And it wasn't, because it was just, and I think someone alluded to that before, is understanding this is who I am and this is my culture. But just because I come into that culture doesn't mean like necessarily something might be negative or positive, because I might not understand that. I need to have some tolerance, and that's another thing. I might be going a little off track, but that's another thing that we need to have in this world. We need to have tolerance. I think someone else brought up a point, was saying, hey, you brought up a point even when you started this. I don't know what you want to be called. If you want to be called white, if you want to be called, dude, we need to have way more tolerance than that. If you want to call me man and you mess up and I'm identify as a woman, I should be able to let you know that, and we should be able to go on and handshake and be fine at the end of the day. I think sometimes we do tippy-toe around a little bit too much, and we need to have tolerance and give people the benefit of the doubt and have a conversation like we are now in order to get to the bottom of things. But if we start off pointing fingers and saying you're black and I'm white, even kind of I'm having a problem with, even like, I love JP. We met him at the gym. We were bros from the beginning. But when we start saying black and white, even from the beginning right here, right now, we're all brothers and sisters from the beginning. And I'm telling you right now, I'll give you a point here, but I do see when people say sometimes culture and sensitivity, like if you say there's a black guy walking behind you or a white guy walking behind you, honestly, I would like to think that the woman will get across the street, either one, because she's just worried that there's a man walking behind her, but there are some cultural things going on. But I think it's a cultural understanding and not necessarily racist or racism, because I see it as we're all one people under God, to be honest. But go ahead.
Okay, cool, fool. Yeah, I want to talk to you more about that because I want to understand your point. Okay, that's cool. We definitely could talk about that later on. But this was more addressed to the white panel here. Craig, I kind of expected that perspective from you, that kumbaya, let's all get along, understand each other. And I mean, that's cool. But to understand the black culture, you have to understand our history as well, right? Can you hear me? Okay, so you have to understand our history. To understand our culture, you have to understand our history. So understanding our history, that means that you have to understand the role that your history played in our history, right? You have to understand it.
I'm gonna ask
Like,
you this: if your dad was a rapist, are you a rapist?
no, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you
You
this.
might get a. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, you're right. If my dad was a rapist, does that make me a rapist? No. But I'll say this: if my dad was a rapist, and whoever my dad raped, do you think that family would be okay with their child dating or marrying the person that raped their mother? The person whose father raped their mother.
I'm gonna tell you right now, there is gonna probably be like if my let's say you're saying if that person, I'm kind of understanding the context, but you're saying if that son of that dad came over and was gonna marry my daughter, I would put them through the same context. I would sit them down and be like, you understand, this is my daughter and yours. I would do that with every boy that comes through
Craig,
my house.
Craig, you tap dancing around. I asked
Well, I
you.
didn't understand. I mean, you use like my cousin married to my cousin married to my
No,
uncle.
what I'm saying is, what I'm saying. Okay, if the person that raped, okay, my father raped someone in your family, right? Let's say your mother, right? Now, I'm attracted to your mother's daughter, which would be your sister, and I want to marry your sister. Would you, as the brother, be okay with that? Now, I'm the son of the person that raped your mother.
Yeah.
Would you, as the brother, be okay if I dated your sister, who is also the daughter of the woman that got raped, which is your mother?
So this was actually a situation that got brought up, and we said if somebody killed something, I'd be okay with it. I know you that, but I would be okay with it. But I'm telling you right now, because of the context, if your dad didn't teach you values, which I would imagine in that situation, I mean, use context before, but in that situation, if your dad, which I would imagine probably wouldn't teach you good values if he was a rapist, that I would be extra cautionary in that situation to sit you down and say, hey, we need to have a conversation. I want to get to know you. And in that case, I would get to know you deep down inside, because I want to I'm not kidding, I would give everyone the benefit of the doubt, because they are not the father of what they've done and did.
Okay. Hello, Jen. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. So, what is your take on what we've been talking about?
I think that I feel, and just listening, I feel that you're taking how you feel personally, and you're assuming that all white individuals either are going to um, it's like you already have a preconceived answer of how you think that we're going to respond to you, or like Craig said, we're all one, we're all together. What your father did doesn't mean that, that's you. We're all individuals and we're separate. So let that just be an individual. And just listening, I feel like you're making preconceived notions of all white people.
Got you. Okay.
If you're, I wanted to comment in listening to all you're saying, that whites run this, white runs that. Like, I need more context and understanding of, what is our population rate? Is that even comparable?
Okay.
Throw out like
I got you.
60% Caucasian versus 40, education, opportunity, culture. I'm one of 6 kids raised by a single mother. I went to college for 12 years because I wanted to be the first person in my family to have a degree. That's me, right? That's my own individual drive.
Gotcha. Okay, so
It's just different. I think that in listening, I sort of feel like you're putting everyone in a bucket, and yet we're individual, and we have different motivators and things that drive us and propel us to be successful. Just because the majority of whites, Jeff Bezos, maybe he busted his ass, or maybe he had a silver, but then who was it? I recently heard, I was surprised. Who's the gentleman? Was it like Microsoft or Apple? Who was
Steve Jobs?
I don't even think he graduated from high school. Right? Okay. So I'm just saying, like, and there's timing and opportunity, and it's just, I don't agree with you with the whole, like, white people owning this and this, because I think there's too many variables to bucketize it and to say that we control everything. I don't agree.
Yeah, like, you have to understand, I have so much material over here that I haven't gone over yet. So it's like I can break everything down, but I ain't going to do that just yet. But you said that you don't agree with me, but you don't have to agree with me because these are facts. You said, what is the ratio? Let me give you the ratio. Let's the four major sports. Okay, we got hockey, baseball, football, basketball, right? You said the ratio. White folks about 67%, blacks about 13% of the population. So out of those four sports, it's about 120 teams. We're going to do ratio. There's only one black owner in those 120. That's not 13%. Okay. And that one owner is Michael Jordan, who is the product of Nike.
I know who he is.
Okay. So when you say ratio,
well, it's actually LeBron James. LeBron James has a maybe a $2 billion contract. So it's not Michael, it's LeBron.
No, Michael is the only owner of a professional sports team, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
LeBron
okay.
doesn't own it. Yeah. So we only have one owner that's black.
Okay.
So because when I said who owns stuff, all the major financial institutions is not owned by black. We don't own nothing. We don't, matter of fact, we don't have a black community in the United States that has its own. We own the bank, supermarkets, hospitals. We don't own nothing. You guys do.
Let me ask you this, because I'm curious. Just it may sound stereotype, but what kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Maxima.
And I say that just because I think that people spend their money on different things, or they invest, or they save, or whatever. I'm listening to you. Go ahead, Kiki.
Unmute yourself.
I wanted to finish hearing what Jen was saying. I'll say something after.
Go ahead, Jen.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, for me, I look at that, and so that was an investment, right? So, like, there's a ton of black people that make a crap ton of money in sports. What are they doing with their money? Are they investing? Like, what are they doing with that?
Well, when you speak about
when you say that you don't own anything, but why is that? I don't make $50 million in 5 years playing softball.
Well, right. you have to understand generational wealth, Jen. I mean, come on. We're talking generational wealth here. Things are passed down to son to daughter, so on and so forth. like the Lakers. Jerry Buss passed it down to his kids. Jenny Buss is now the owner of the Lakers, right?
Can I
my
try
question,
try this a little bit?
go ahead.
I think what he's trying to say, I'm not. Well, let me not speak for him or anything, but I think from what I get is what he's trying to say is, like you said, generational wealth. So, I guess so. In the inception of this country, I mean, there's only been a slave master relationship during the inception of this country. So, white people have always been in a position of ownership in this country, and so of course, with slavery and the release of the slaves, we've been going uphill trying to meet that position of ownership. So that's what he's trying to say. So it's harder for us to get going uphill. Now I'm not saying that there aren't people already up here like basketball players and etc. But for the majority of us, we're still climbing up that uphill.
Sure.
So I guess that's what he's trying to say. So and that goes through, like some of you said, the choices you make and everything, but that goes through like the generational wealth. You have a better understanding of money than we do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like we don't have that understanding. So we spend the minute we get our first paycheck, we go spend on clothes, shoes, whatever. We don't invest in paintings, art, cars, or whatever. We don't have that type of mentality because of that, the inception of the country. So
And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, no doubt is it going to be harder for somebody, if you don't have that generation wealth. I just moved out to DC. I'm in Annapolis right now, and I look around. I grew up on a dairy farm. I paid for my whole entire college. My parents couldn't even afford to pay for me. I look around here, and I'm like, these people got $7 million homes. I'm looking at, my patients. They come in, their girls go to college, $40,000-$50,000 a year, acting like it's nothing. I'm looking at that as a white person. I'm like, holy, really, to be honest, it's eye opening. It is crazy how much money generational wealth is in DC and in Annapolis and in this area. I'm from Pennsylvania. It's not like that by any means, but I will tell you this. I will no doubt say it would be harder. I see the Mexican families coming in here. They're in Annapolis right now. They bind together. They live in a home. They have 10 people in a home. They buy a home and they start planting seeds and they're doing well. But what I'm trying to say is that's not racist. That's not racism. That's something that is going to continue have to work, and it would be racism if I make it harder for you. But the only way that's racism. Like if I would specifically be like, I'm going to roadblock you. I'm going to make this harder for this race to
that's
get to that point.
But
the only people that did that was the Democratic Party when you guys were going uphill, and then they said, "Here's free homes. Here, if your father doesn't come back home, we'll give you more money to your mother." So they didn't want the father to come back home. They split the family up. I mean, we could go into so much detail there, but to be honest, you're basically saying a generation. I could go back to the women thing and say women could say, well, we don't have as much as men. And yes, because it goes back to the culture of use. So most women used to stay at home with the kids. So if you're going to say that the women versus men, you're doing the same thing, but women haven't been working as long as men. So we could say black, white, women, but that's not racism. That's just exactly what the starting point is and where it's happening and where it's occurring. And honestly, I say this all the time. Just like Jen said, I grew up on a dairy farm. My parents, had the farm. They were in debt. They're still in debt to this day. They said, what's the FAFSA? I had to fill out the FAFSA. I had to go to college. I went to college, and there was a person of color, let's just put it that way, who their mom and dad were split up, and they were going to college for free, and I had to pay 100% tuition to go to college. And at the end of the day, I came out with a doctorate degree and had to pay $150,000 back. And he came out and it was bartender and failed out of college. So all comes back to choices in regards to what in life you want to make it. And to be honest, the only way I see that it would be fair for some, I think what you're trying to say is if there's that 1% who owns 40% of America, is that 1% at the top, that if they would give money to make it a fair and even playing field. And honestly, I'm going to be completely honest, that wouldn't make me happy.
Hell no.
I love working for what I do. Right. I love helping people out, and that's why I do healthcare. But I'm not sure your point in regard to saying the difference, because that's not racism.
Okay. All right. Time out. Okay. So let's cut to the chase. Hufu, you mentioned earlier about racism, right? About
I didn't.
no, I was talking about since the time of racism, Europeans had access to wealth and money, correct? That's what you mentioned earlier, right?
Well, hold on. Hold on. You said
If we
since
go way
before
back, there was more white slaves than there were black slaves. I mean, how far are you going back? I don't know how far you're going back.
Well, Kufu, you mentioned that whites have more access to wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is factual, right?
Yeah.
Asians actually.
Going back, how long? How long have they had more access to wealth?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so like I said, the inception of this country was built on like a slave master relationship.
It was built on racism.
I'm not. No, it wasn't built on racism.
Okay. Kufu, listen to me. Follow me here. I'm going to read again what the definition of racism is. Listen. Very carefully.
Well,
listen very carefully.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just not going to read the whole thing. But it says here, a policy, system of government, etc., that is associated with or originated in such a doctrine and that favors members of the dominant racial or ethnic group, or has a neutral effect on their life experiences, while discriminating against or harming members of other groups, ultimately serving to preserve the social status, economic advantage, and political power of the dominant group. Who's the dominant group? Just answer my question.
I'm gonna let you shoot yourself in your own foot right now. What happened to you know the history of the Papa's Bull, right? What you know the history of the Papa's Bull, right? Was that racism? Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But what I'm asking you is, you hold on. You can school me on that a little later. But what I'm saying to you is, we're talking about racism, whites and blacks.
Okay. In
America?
Okay.
Who is the dominant group since slavery?
It's white people, yeah.
Okay. Who created the laws?
For the country? Or for slavery?
Who created the Constitution? I'm asking a question. Who created the Constitution?
But there were black people that helped create the Constitution also. Go ahead.
When they created the Constitution, were we slaves?
Yeah.
Okay. So they created the Constitution. They created the laws, bylaws, so on and so forth, while we were slaves, correct?
Right.
Okay. So who controlled government? Who controlled policy?
I have a question or comment.
I do too.
So if I went to Africa, no, because and I went to Africa. Does that make all of the African people racist to me?
We're going off
Does that
topic.
how is that off
thing.
topic? Because that country is mostly black people. 100% it is comparable. So the white people, I'm going to look at all the African people and say that they're racist and they're the ones that created their own laws and their own government. Does that make the African people racist?
I'd also like to say the President Obama, black, Kamala Harris, black, multiple senators and Congress people who control all the politics in this country are black. So the idea that only white people control the political power in this country is shrinking every year because more people of color are elected. Kamala Harris, the senators for New Jersey are both black and Latino. How can you say that all white people control politics when we see more and more people of color being elected to political power and they control the power. So how I don't understand the argument at that point.
But it even like what Craig said, it goes back to culture. Like culturally,
And they the worst ones.
The
fucking
United
up.
States. The United States was predominantly a white country by the Europeans. It's no different than Africa is predominantly a black country. So I don't see how is that not the same thing?
Well, and furthermore, the other thing I would top that off with, even though it was created while slavery was occurring, what laws are you referring to that suppress or create racism now? I mean, that may be something I'm aware of, but that's also something I may need to be understanding of. But I don't really know if there's something that says, the Constitution where black people cannot do X, Y, and Z. I don't know of it. And if that's another thing. I'm bringing that up. But I don't think there's anything that suppresses a culture currently in the Constitution.
Oh, so 2 things. He's right. Craig is right. There's no laws suppressing any culture or people at this point. No, there's none. So I think what John was trying to say, I don't know where he's at, is I guess the laws that are already in place were made by those people with that type of mindset. So we're in a kind of fighting those. We still have some of those laws on the books, I guess, is what he's trying to say. So I guess that's what he's trying to say. I'm not sure. He's not on here to back. So as far as those laws back, those laws back in the 1800s when people were slaves and all that. Now here's the thing. So we outnumbered the whites. There were at least 2 million slaves so I guess we outnumbered them but 3-1 at time of slavery. So at one point, you guys were making all the laws at one point while we were enslaved. I just want to point that out. But now it's not like that. So I'm trying to figure out like where his point is going with this point, because I mean,
I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, where I'm going with it is that see, y'all made so many things. What I'm saying is that just because there's black people in office now doesn't mean that we have reached the promised land. Most of the people in power, all black people are doing is we're looking over white folks' affairs. That's all it is. That's all it is. A lot of these laws that were created was created by a racist system. Okay? This whole government was set up by a racist system. We do have laws now that benefits minorities, most of us, but there's no law on the books specifically for black folks. There are laws that help black folks, but there's no laws that are specifically for black folks. Obama didn't pass none. Even Kamala Harris said it herself. She said, no, I'm not going to pass any laws specifically for black folks. So when you bring up these people that's in office, these black people that's in office, and isn't Kamala Harris married to a white man? Come on, man. Like, understand where I'm going. This country
I don't understand. Why do you need to have separate laws for blacks and whites?
Good question. So why do we need to have separate laws for transgender? Why do we need to have separate laws for Asians?
We shouldn't. That's what creates racism.
Right.
I don't believe we should. If it was up to me, it would be clear across the board. And that actually, if you have different things for everybody, that muddies the water. It creates this, I mean, look at transgender, for example, anyway. I mean, we're already muddying the water there because we don't know now. We created other problems if women should go in sports or men should go get self-identify and play the other side. And it shouldn't be like that. I if we want to go that route, it should be straight across the board. And with that being said, what law right now, I challenge you, what law right now gives whites the benefit?
Well,
I mean, It was created. It was created by whites, but you telling me now that we have laws specifically for white people now?
Well, what I'm saying, y'all make laws that are very vague, okay? And even how y'all speak right now, y'all use the everybody get along, everyone's one people. But yeah, in theory, yeah, but that's not how our society is because you're not getting killed in the middle of the street unarmed. So where's the police reform?
I'm not breaking the law. That's one thing that I find that's really interesting about all these things that we're talking about.
Just
people
because
getting murdered and shot and this and that, but he broke the law. Like why did the police have to be called in the first place?
Well, that's not.
Why did this girl was shot because she was about to in Columbus? Why she was about to stab someone? So like, we start talking about people getting killed and people dying, but did we forget the crime? And the majority of the people that are committing these crimes, is it mostly white or black people?
You're being disingenuous there, Jen. You're being disingenuous.
No, but that's what I'm saying, because that's what I mean. I'm not towing around a conversation. I'm just saying that seems to be what's in the media, and that's what everyone's talking about. But you and I'll go on the flip side of that. I don't see black people going in and getting all crazy and shooting up, doing mass shootings. I think that's crazy too. I'm just saying, like, let's really talk about it seems like people just want to cherry pick and have certain conversations about racism, but let's talk about everything.
Yes, we can talk about.
No one wants to discuss the crime.
Okay, I got you. But because a person commits a crime doesn't justify them being shot unarmed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, 100%.
So in that sense, you're cherry picking because you picked the lady in Ohio. But what about the guy that was in his car? He told the police officer he had a gun, and because he told the police officer he had a gun, the police officer just start shooting.
I don't know, and that's the thing too, right? Like understanding the backstory. Did they run his plate? What was their whatever was
what? But what does that? But why is the officer justified in shooting if he wasn't a threat?
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about.
So what I'm saying is that you guys don't have those worries. Y'all don't have those worries. When y'all get pulled over by the police, you don't have those worries. We do.
No, buddy. I would disagree with you. When I was an 18-year-old kid, I was on a motorcycle. I had my shirt off. I got pulled over. That cop took me and wanted to put me on 2 charges because he gave me reckless driving and everything else. And this was backtown home stuff. I'm telling you right now, if I had any, it goes back to the actions. And back to what Jen said, it goes back to that. But I'll tell you right now, I got 2 charges when I was a crazy 16-year-old on a motorcycle passing cars on the road, and he pulled me over and wanted to almost put me in jail the first day. And I have that same story.
Okay, but you were supposed to because you were doing something stupid.
Right. But so that's what Jen said.
But you didn't get shot and killed.
Listen, that's because if I would have ran from the cop, or if I would have pulled something out of my pocket, or if I would have risked it, but when he pulled me over, I knew I was in the wrong. All these stories go more steps than what you just stated, though. You just actually stated, though, that I deserve what I got.
No, you deserve for the police to come get you, yes, but you don't deserve to be shot and killed.
Right, but in every other story we just brought up, it went further than that.
Can I say something? Because I think we're just gonna go back and forth, just attacking each other at this point. Like we're not really gaining or learning anything from each other. You know what I mean?
Well, because we're deviating from the point that I originally made.
I guess, but I mean, I'll just speak for me. I mean, at this point, I think there's a bigger problem than what we're just discussing. I mean, just the country, like I said before, the country's inception is based on slavery. So we need to just deal with the fucking root of the problem and just get it over with. I mean, I think that's just
repeat what you just said.
What do you mean? The inception of the country
was what?
I think was I mean, the inception of the country was built in slavery, right?
Okay.
So
All right. Now, pause right there. Pause right there. So the country, the inception of the United States was built on racism.
I didn't say that. I'm just stating. All I'm saying is
slavery was a cultural. That was something that was from Europe. That was white people were slaves. More white people were slaves. So if we want to go back further, it was something that you did. There was good master to. There was healthy relationships. There was people who thought that was the normal on both sides. Not necessarily was there any good people, but I'm telling you right now, my question to you would be, what do we do now to make that better?
Right. That's all about.
How do we reverse it? That's my question to you to make this change is what would make it where it's not racist for you? Now it's not for me because but yeah, I'll leave that question there.
It's not going to happen in our lifetime, obviously, right? But we can lay the groundwork for it to happen later on. So what I'm saying is, like what I was saying was the country was built in slavery, so we need to deal with that problem. That's the elephant in the room. That's the biggest elephant in the room for America is slavery. So, for instance, the Jews had their reparations, even though America didn't do anything to kill the Jews. The Germans did, but they got their reparations from both countries. So I'm not saying money is the ultimate answer, but some talk of reparations should be put on the table. Reason being, I mean, it's kind of like I said, instead of just putting band-aids on the wound, just sew up the damn wound and we can all just move on. I mean, we're here bickering over a world that's a planet that's, I mean, after a while, it's just going to get too small. I mean, we should be traveling space by now, and we're still here bickering around each other about black and white and all this shit, man. It's just getting old after a while, man. I'm like, if you want to learn who you are, learn who you are. After a while, we just gotta, just deal with the fucking problem. Just move on. Like, this is getting old after a while. It's 2021, and we're still arguing with fucking racism. You know what I mean?
But I think we're arguing a little bit about money, though. To be honest, and I'll give one more example here. We had a friend. His name's Peter. He's from Africa. He's African American, and he came over. He's a nurse. He's a travel nurse. During COVID, he made $1,600 a day. He actually stayed at our house in Pennsylvania. That's how we know him. And he called us up. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm a nurse. I came over to America." He's like, "I'm working hard." He's like Craig in his accent. He's awesome, man. He's like, he stayed with us for 4 weeks while he was in Pennsylvania. He traveled down to Texas. He goes, "Craig," he goes, "I can't sleep right now. I'm making $1,600. He's like, "I am literally," so he wouldn't sleep. He's working 6 days a week because he's planning on going back to Africa, opening up businesses and just killing it. But the other question is, that's why I say we still bickering over money more than actually quote unquote racism, because the other thing is too is statistically there's wealthier African Americans than there are Black Americans in this country. But I mean, dude, if you want it, I literally say if you want it, you can get it in this world. It's in the United States of America. It's honestly it's better than any other country there is. I mean, I literally have you all over for a cup of coffee. Well, it doesn't matter to me. But I think sometimes we argue about money and equality, but it goes back to what will we do to make it equal today? And I know you say we're setting that up, but what are we setting up? I don't see it. It needs to be a mind shift.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Reparations is just not money. It deals with just a lot more than money. Like, for instance, it could be therapy also, because we're dealing with the post-traumatic syndrome after slavery. We're still dealing with that stuff. So that could be part of our reparations. That's, like I said, we're laying the groundwork right now just to move forward. You know what I mean? I think when I use reparations, it's kind of a broad word. Yes, it should be used as a broad word.
Let me interject real quick. And for the blacks out there, how do you know that all the blacks got affected by slavery? So all of them couldn't got affected by it. So will we pass reparations out to them as well just because they're black?
Well, look at it like this. If you were African continent, if you were on the African continent, your country was colonized by a European nation, you were affected by slavery, some way, form, or fashion.
Well, that's everyone. They're gonna be passing reparations out to all types of cultures.
Well, but like I said, it's not just money. It's more than just money. I mean, I'm using reparations as a broad word. I mean, it goes back to. I'm just speaking for America right now, but I'm just saying that's the elephant in the room, and we want to start moving forward. I mean, just sew up the damn wound. Stop putting little patches on it.
What I want to ask the blacks, what I want to ask the black. Oh no, go ahead.
No,
Take it
go
over
ahead.
real quick.
No,
What I want
go
to
ahead.
ask, I want to ask you all, because a lot of us always go back. A lot of the blacks always go back to slavery, and they kind of try to drag that with them as long as they can to try to fix a collective problem when it should be an individual thing that you just sort out yourself. Why do the blacks deserve reparations?
Are you asking?
Yeah, because you can't say, if you say just for slavery, well, where do you think the people got the idea of slavery from if the blacks were here first?
So, all right, two things then. One is when you're dealing with slavery. I don't know what slavery you're talking about, but it was a very disproportionate.
Well, the Arab slavery happened first,
But
and
wealth is the main topic when you talk about slavery. It's to gain wealth. Slaves are wealth. Doesn't matter what color you are. Slaves are wealth. That's the way it is. That's where it was in the ancient world. That's where it was in the modern world. Slaves were wealth. So if you look at it that terms, I mean, if you say why we owe reparations, I mean, well, like I said, the wealth gap was very, very, skewed on that one. I mean, other like for instance, the Arab slave trade, right? There was no real disparity in wealth with that slave trade. You look at the white slave trade, like the Romans when they did their little slave trade thing. It wasn't really that much of you really couldn't tell that much of a wealth gap between the slave and the master after everything crumbled.
But it still happened though.
But when you talk about America, when you look at the wealth gap, you can still see it today. It's like still a huge wealth gap. Like I said, we're still trying to climb that uphill battle because we're still fighting the laws made by old people with the old mentality. So some of those laws are still on the books that we're still trying to fight.
Okay, so what is the purpose for blacks today in this time?
Same thing for whites. Same thing for Asians.
Do they all have a shot at that, at the American dream?
I don't see why not.
John,
yes.
I'm sorry, Austin. Go ahead and say something real quick. Pick it up.
I just wanted to say, well, what is power? Political, economical, social. There's more and more politicians are becoming peoples of color. The wealth thing, I think Kufu and everyone has a point that there's a big lag because of our past racial history, but the political, you can't argue that. There's more and more people of color becoming senators, presidents, mayors, Mayor Bowser, President Obama,
and
more. So
they all destroyed this.
Now, see, Austin's right, but here's where I think here's where his point comes in, right? Well, just because they're up there doesn't mean they're helping the people on the bottom. Now
it's not all white people are racist. Then if
no,
people of their own race or in areas of power, and they're not helping their own people, then it's not.
Well, because which is the reason why I brought up slavery. When you talk, the reason why the blacks aren't helping, the blacks in power aren't helping the regular blacks on the street, is because they're in a racial government. Period. This country was founded on racism. Period. Racism has trickled down through the years. Racism is not the same as it was in 1776.
It's true.
It's just different. It doesn't mean it's not there. it has manifested itself in a different aura, a different look. So it's still there.
Sure.
And just because black people are in power doesn't mean they're not operating under a racial government or governmental system.
Got a point. I see what he's saying.
I don't know what
you're saying.
the blacks are trying to
Hey, check this
establish.
out. Check this out. I'll let you go.
Go ahead.
JP.
Go ahead.
Tell me if you can hear this. Tell me if you can hear this, because I think this goes to the things that you was talking about, JP. To lift yourself up by your bootstrap. Okay. Tell me if you can hear this.
Same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money. Teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents because of their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Okay. So you're saying that black people are operating on the same level, have the same opportunities as whites.
So yes,
it's a yes or no question. See,
yes,
when I ask the question, ask the question, I never get a yes or no.
Yes.
In politics, yes. In politics, yes.
In politics, that's not politics.
You have the president, you got the vice president, you got Mayor Bowser, the mayor, you got senators that are black. In politics, yes.
They all black.
No, I would go back. I would actually go back and say now, yes.
Yeah.
Then when you played that, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say
If you play stuff back in, but the problem is you're going back to my uncle's dad's grandfather, not me.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, okay, hold on.
Was created a wealth gap.
Okay,
and you're talking about money again.
The wealth gap wasn't created in 1960. The wealth gap was created 100 and so years prior. Okay, so what I'm saying is that was just a generation ago. That was 50 years ago. There's people still alive from the 60s.
Right.
Okay, so let's not act like we're that far away or that far removed from Martin Luther King and what he just talked about. Those people are your father, are your fathers and your grandfathers, and they raised children who and taught them these things. We're not talking about 200 years later. We're talking about a generation later.
Yeah, but my point is what and why? Like, what are we doing now? What is the point?
Okay, let me get to the point. This is why I say all white people are racist. Let me get to the point. Right here. Do you think that you benefit from white privilege?
No.
In the criminal justice system, maybe.
Maybe.
It depends on the cop. Depends on the cop, how the cop feels.
Maybe? You're telling me maybe and Craig, you're telling me no.
Correct.
So you're not the mere fact that you white, man.
Do you know that today's society, jobs get bonuses based upon the
You're not
diversity.
listening. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me.
That's a racism. That's
You're not-
technically racism against me.
No, you're
I
not.
went to college. And the kid who was colored got money to go for free, and I didn't. How is that not? I feel oppressed more than anybody else. I grew up on a dairy farm,
Craig.
zero money to go to college. I can prove it.
Craig, no, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. You picking up when I'm talking about a systemic issue, not an isolated event. You cannot come to me. You can't.
You asked hold on. You asked me personally if I,
True, you did kind of.
which I did not say. You did not say do all whites benefit. You asked me if and I said no, because
you did.
I grew up with Amish. I grew up. I know how to work hard. I grew up there. I literally, literally tell you to this point, brother. I tell you, if you were on the street right here, I go up to say hi to you as much as anyone. It is not no.
The mere fact, sir, that you're white, you are looked favorably within the judicial system, police, period. The mere fact that I'm black, I'm seen as a threat, even without a weapon.
Context. If you were in a multi-million-dollar Obama living house, you came out of that, police came to you, you would not have that. It depends on where you're at.
Why
do I
got to be in an Obama multi-million-dollar house to be seen?
Because if you're in downtown with your pants down, white or black, you're gonna be. If I'm a cop coming in there and there's a white guy with their pants down, hanging out with the belt buckle and earrings hanging out, I might be a little bit. It's just preconceived, but that's white or black.
Nah, man, you're not getting it. Apparently, you're not getting it, and I don't expect you to get it.
You're trying to prove a point to me that I somehow have to understand my white privilege, and I'm trying to tell you that it's not here with me. Now, if you want to tell Kamala Harris, who slept her way up to where she's at, then that's what she had to do to get there.
Yeah, she's a joke too. She's a joke too. So that's right. When Austin was talking about we got blacks in politics.
Right, I agree. I don't care who's in there. I agree with you on that one. I will literally agree with you 100% on that one. It doesn't matter if it's black, white, pink, purple, and whoever's in government, because they're just, when you get to the top like that, all you care about is yourself. I'll tell you that right now. That's all you care about is yourself. You make literally laws to continue to make you richer and make you wealthier, and that's what every president does. And that's why I would kick all of them out and just have farmers or who were hardworking people of America take over the government. We'd be all better off. And
what about that?
It probably would serve our country better because we'd all literally be like, these guys are hardworking people.
Do you remember? Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say military too. That's another one. Politics and military. The Secretary of Defense right now is black. Those two I know for sure. Y'all, Kufu and yourself could rise up in the ranks. The wealth and economics, that's a different topic that requires some background research. But
I think what he's trying to say
and politics, y'all can get those positions. They're the current ones are black now.
I think what he's trying to say is, for instance, the diversity of Congress, I mean, of the government is changing dramatically.
It is,
right?
And if they control the power, then how can all white people?
But that's the thing. That's what he's trying to say.
More people are getting power of different races.
No,
but it's under a white racial systemic oppression and control.
No, that's changing though. That's changing over time.
Okay, listen. You said changing. That doesn't mean change.
It's changed now. The president, vice president.
So that leads to my point.
What else do the blacks need?
Blacks need? Okay.
I already answered that.
What you say?
I said reparations, but I use that term broadly, though.
Well, reparations could be to a detriment to us, but I know you was talking about more than just financial, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So what do blacks need? Well, our leaders ain't worth a damn. So just because, so we're still working under a white racist system. However you want to put it, you can put a million black people in office. We had a black president. Name one law that he's created for blacks. He created them for other people. As Craig said, there's not a need for a law specifically for any one group of people, but that's easy for a white man to say when all of the laws are geared to you in the first place. You don't have to say for white people in order to understand and know that the laws are geared towards you in a bias towards you in the first place.
I mean,
don't
honestly,
need that.
If you're going to say that during my lifetime, I'm 34, I would have to know what laws you're referring to.
Well, police reform.
What about
white people? White people not crying for police reform.
Oh man, there's plenty of white people walking in the streets.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about it.
So there are bad cops, and honestly, I think they're choosing people from the military. If you want my personal opinion, I think they're choosing people from the military. Military people come out, and they're getting used to spit in their face. They're getting used to yelled at in the military, and then they come out and think they can do that to public people. And that's my opinion, and I think we need. I literally will tell you, in that basis, in that argument, they need police reform. And the other thing is, when you go to a city, which most of the stuff is happening in cities, these cops get treated like shit from day to day. That means no meaning that they should do anything to what we see in regards to George Floyd putting a knee on something. They need to handle that better for sure, but they need to learn how to take a timeout. They need to learn how to say, I can't go in today because I'm heated. I'm beat up. But we're picking people from the military. Most police people are military people that get spit in their face, get yelled at, they get beat up during the military, and they want to do this. They want respect from people. And I don't want to get too off topic here, but the whole thing is, I forget where we're at. I just got off topic, but we were talking about something, and then you said
police
white
reform.
People. Right, but what were we talking about before that?
There's more and more black sheriffs too, and black police officers. The change has to come within. If there is a system, then there needs to be more black politicians, more black police officers, more black sheriffs.
The problem is too is when we say police reform, the police reform needs to happen to say, hey, we need to learn how to take a timeout. We need to learn that we can't do this shit ever. We need to learn this across the board, but it can't be put in black and white, because if you put in black and white, you create racism. It needs to be across the board of saying
that's not the definition of racism.
Well, no, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if we do police reform is gonna be like that wording we read on there when you go to George Floyd's funeral. It's gonna be entwined saying, hey, you need to treat this culture this way and this culture this way, and it should be like that. It should be straight across the board. And if you F up, you're done. You're as a police officer, you go to jail, you get processed by the penalty of the law. We gotta go back to the law, otherwise the system fails.
Okay, who created the laws?
We already talked about that. But it's
tell me who created
the laws are not in favor. You tell me how they're in favor, and I'll agree.
I'm just asking a question, bro. Who created the laws?
People
is the answer.
Oh, you want me to say white people?
Politicians are filled with all different races and kinds.
What I'm trying
there's
to say,
Latino politicians, there's Asian politicians, and there's going to be more black politicians.
Listen. Kufu, tell me if I'm wrong. Did we establish that the United States Constitution was written by white folks, slave owners?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Are all the laws that are passed, are they under the guise of the U.S. Constitution?
Pass the current laws.
Past and current. Do they go back to the Constitution when they coming up with laws? Do they go to that Constitution as a guiding light?
I'm going to say yeah, because all laws are made under the Constitution. So, I mean, I'm going to say yeah.
That's what I need to know. That's all
Yeah,
I
but
need to know. That's
but my
all.
question
Well,
to that.
hold on. I'm gonna let you have it. I'm just trying to make the point that I've been trying to make since I started. Everybody just zoom all over my points. No. I got you now. So we're on the same page now. So
Okay.
if the Constitution was created in the 1780, I think it was 1780
1776.
76. Okay, 76. The Constitution. Well, that's when it was 76.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I work for the government, so I know.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So 1776, the Constitution was created, and ever since then, all the laws that has come through the United States Congress and been put out has referred back to the Constitution, which was created by slave owners, white slave owners, which they used those laws doing Jim Crow against blacks. That's when police.
Hold on. Here's the thing, right? Yeah, they were the Constitution was created by slave owners, right? But it wasn't with slavery in mind.
Yeah, because they didn't look at black people as people, Kufu.
No. You missed what I'm saying. When I mean slavery was in mind, when they created the Constitution, right? It was in their mind, it was just for all men, right? It was for all men.
How can it be for all men if you're a slave?
Just hear me out. Just hear me out.
Okay.
I'm not saying slave or not. I'm just saying in their mind, they created the Constitution for all men.
So now you're in their mind. You did this to me. So now you're in their mind. So you know what's in their mind.
I'm not saying we weren't slaves. I'm not saying we weren't slaves, right? I'm not saying we weren't men. I'm not saying we were slaves. But in their mind, they created it for all men. That's all I'm saying. So now with that premise, when you say all laws do they refer back to the Constitution? Yes, all laws refer back to the Constitution. They have to. Otherwise, they don't get ratified and passed. So when you're trying to, I mean, yeah, we were slaves at that time, but it's not. You can't interject slavery into that. They were made by slave masters, yeah, but you can't really put slavery into the Constitution per se.
Kufu, you know better than me that we were not seen as human beings. Remember, 3/3
I'm
are
not
human,
disagreeing
right?
with you.
3/3.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm just saying you said for all men, but we wasn't looked at as people.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
We were animals.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
So when you say all men, you're not referring to us.
Yeah, but what he's saying, what he's saying is now is at this point today, you are adopted into all men, which there is no law today that then therefore makes a law for black, white, purple, pink different for all men than anything else. So the whole point comes back to is I agree with you. If I could go back and kick some ass back then, sure. But like honestly, now I want to know what law or what you need to get rid of racism in your mind, as you would put it.
We need this generation of white folks to share power. Y'all not going to do it. You're not going to do it.
Man, go ahead and run. No one's stopping you from running against Mayor Bowser. You can run against Mayor Bowser and become president.
That's not what I'm talking. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say power, remember what I said racism was. Do we have to go back to what I explained racism was? It's
political government institutions.
It's a systemic. It's a systemic control of one group over another, socially, economically, politically, religiously, everything.
But if we
speak your language, don't y'all speak English? Didn't y'all come from Europe and y'all spoke English? We speak English. We speak English. That's your language, right? How did we end up speaking English? Someone answer my question, because we seem to gloss over mine. How do we become black English speaking individuals? Tell me, answer that question. Because we need to get to the meat of the situation. Everything we've been talking about is lipstick on the pig. Let's get to why are we speaking English?
But that's kind of goes back to what I said.
Kufu, you killing me right now. I'm asking them. I'm asking them.
So I'm gonna say this, but if you're gonna do that, you're gonna look at other countries and they do the same exact thing. And if you're gonna do that,
you're passing the buck. I'm talking specifically about you, sir.
But if you're gonna say that,
why are we speaking your language?
Indian, Asian, you're gonna say that for everybody else coming over here. I don't know, honestly, I don't know why we're speaking English other than that was the main
You have no clue? You have no clue why we speaking English?
There was a main language spoken.
By who?
By people that came over here.
No. Who came over here?
The English.
And who?
The people,
okay.
Yeah.
And us, right?
Oh, never mind.
So what's your? I'm not sure your point.
What I'm trying to get you to understand is the progression of history, sir.
But that doesn't create racism, though.
Racism is systemic control of one group of people over another, meaning that you have control over their culture, over their politics, over their economics, their political. You have control over their worldview, sir. So what I'm saying to you is that you don't speak no English. No African dialect. You don't speak no African dialect.
Do you speak Spanish?
Because we don't have no control over you. We didn't force our language, our history on you. So when I ask you, how did we start to speak English? How did African-speaking individuals learn how to speak English? You as a white man going to tell me you don't know. You do know this is going on YouTube. The world can see this, right?
But I'm saying I'm not sure your point.
Of course,
because you speak English.
Yes, I speak English, but why do black people why are black people in this country speaking English? Why is it our language?
Well, just like I go to China and they speak Chinese. They would expect me to speak that over there.
English comes from Europe, correct? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
You guys came over here, right? There was nobody speaking English over here in the United States before you got here. Correct?
Correct, but we should all be speaking Native American then at that point if you want to, I'm not sure your point.
Because this is what you call plausible deniability right now. You know what I'm saying, and you know where I'm going. And
you got muted.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
You know where I'm going with the question. I'm simply asking you, why are Africans, well, we are African, but why are black people in America, why is our language English?
Well, for once,
and not a dialect from Africa.
It's America is predominantly white. Okay, so you're going to speak that language. Anyway, let me put this in your ear. Why do the blacks always think that the past exists? The past does not exist. The future does not exist. Life is in the now.
The
So
black
what?
had to get off right quick.
Once you get wrapped around that, and a lot of blacks have a lot of anger, so they don't see clearly. And when you don't see clearly, you tend to fall for anything. Okay, in my opinion. Like I said, racism does not exist, and we're gotta close because we do the time. This is getting great. We should have a part two. However, racism don't exist. Okay, no isms, no phobiaism, none of that stuff. Okay, none of that stuff exists. Basically, it's just wordplay. Remember, it's either good or evil, right or wrong. Once they hit you with the wordplay, you're all lost in emotions and figure that you are owed something. Blacks are not owed anything. And yeah, okay. Everyone, I thank you for coming through, and uh, make sure that you learned something from this today. And JPTV is bringing the real stuff to you, making sure we get a better understanding of each other. And we're gonna close out, man. And we appreciate the be let me bring my panel back real quick so they can say bye to each other real quick, okay? Yeah, yo. My bad. Yeah, yo. So we about to close out, man. We'll have to have a part two sometime else. But y'all have fun.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like discussing this stuff.
Always good chatting it out, buddy. John, I do appreciate you chatting with me, man. I wish I could see a little bit more where you're coming from. But wish you the best with everything, dude.
Absolutely. Same to you.
Maybe we
Same
chat
to you.
again, man.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
brother. Appreciate it.
Take care of yourself.
You too, my man.
All right.
JP,
Yeah.
I think you're the whitest black person I know.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe I can help. Alright. So don't tell anybody. It's Jimmy. Our sex life sucks.
Really? You? I went to Chulanka's shop. I think I have something for you. Let me go get it. She gave me a couple of these.
Mojo? What's that?
Trust me, he'll get his mojo back in just one pack. Mojo back in just one pack.
Alright, girl. I'm gonna try this Asia.
Mojo. Always in a good mood. Hear me and believe. Hold on for a second, dog. I got a sample for you. Take two, hit my phone back. Man, do what you do. So she's telling me I should get this.
Man, I know I had to end it, and I'm sorry that I had to end it on y'all, man. It was a great turnout, man. Like I said, this platform is going to be, always something like that, with the people that can get together and talk about some things, what I'm saying, without getting too wild or out of hand or out of control. And I hope everyone enjoyed the show. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed it myself. I just ate a whole steak dinner watching this motherfucker. You hear me? with cream corn and everything. You know what I'm saying? So, man, it was and like I was saying, once you get past the wordplay, remember racism doesn't exist. Okay, it's all an emotional tactic. Okay, it's all the emotional tactic. You can get this shirt. You can hit me up, or you can hit KNYN up. You know what I'm saying? And we can get your shirts made for you. Okay. let me know, man. The Cash App is at the bottom. It's like, nah, it ain't at the bottom. Just fucking with you. But you hit me up. We do have these shirts for sale. All right. So, with that being said, family, thank you for coming through, man. I really appreciate it, man. John, thank you for coming through.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm the lone survivor, huh?
Yeah, you're the lone survivor, man. So, maybe next Sunday, yeah.
Only the strong survive, baby. That's why I'm here. Only the strong survive.
I know that's right, man. Hey, man, we gonna close out, man. You want to tell the people anything right quick?
Yeah, well,
like your Instagram and stuff like that.
Nah, they ain't ready for that yet. I don't want my shit flooded. Not yet, but no, man, just I love the platform, man, and I appreciate you having me on here to, say my piece. And this is good. Debating is good because you get other people's perspectives and you learn. That's really the whole purpose of all this. I'm not attacking nobody. My whole thing is to learn. So if I'm wrong about something, I have no problem with saying that I am wrong. But if I'm right about something, I believe in it wholeheartedly, and I'm going to stand on it. So, but definitely appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, sir.
No problem. Hey, everybody out there, before you go, please like, share, and subscribe. It does help the channel out. It helps the channel out a lot. Make sure you share this video as well. This information needs to get out there. Don't be afraid to share this information. I like my information being shared. You did. Okay. So, y'all, I know. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Okay. Look, next Sunday is going to be another banger, and I may go live here and there somewhere. I may go live. So, before Sunday, that's just if I'm in the mood. But Sunday for sure, I'm gonna come up with no banger. We are looking for preachers and pastors to come up so we can get a little bit of more information about that as well. So anyone know a pastor, a preacher, youth minister, anything like that, please let us know. We are seeking the Lord, okay? And we just have a little questions for him. We want to be saved, okay? But we just need to understand it, okay? We just need to understand it a little bit. So we got some questions to ask a preacher, since the congregation thinks that he's the one that's closer to God than the congregation. So we want him or her to come. Well, damn, ain't supposed to be no female, but they do it anyway. But yeah, him or her can come up and we can ask the question. Okay. With that being said, family, man, I enjoyed y'all coming out. Peace.
JP's the great people. JP's total Texas.
That's why I'm coming every week, man. It's worth it. It's all worth it.